Hey everybody, so this is an episode that you cannot miss. Very excited about today's guest. Really pumped, as always, to be doing our Summer of 50 PGH Tech Stories with Comcast. And we're hanging out with Jesse Witham today from Search Marketing Agency. And we're talking about all things SEO, which I find completely fascinating. And that's why I think it's so important to be paying attention to this episode of our 50 Stories with Comcast here, because it just changes, I think, every day. And something that you were doing 6 months ago is probably not what you should be doing today. And so I always get pumped when we have experts in this field, because I'm always amazed that they can stay on top of these topics. And Jesse is one of those guys. He's going to tell us a little bit about some things going on when it comes to on and off page SEO, and really using SEO as a way to, just be able to promote yourself or executives within your organization and so forth. So Jesse, I really appreciate you taking the time to be part of our 50 Stories today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jonathan. I really appreciate it. I love the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So what's your background real fast? What got you all like razzmatazz about SEO? What made you say, this is how I'm spending my life?
Yeah, I've actually done it my whole life, going on 20 years. We've been 18 years in this business. I started out back in high school learning how to, code websites basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so what got me into it was doing affiliate programs, affiliate management, which kind of led into SEO, web design, things of that nature.
Okay.
And then, early 2000s, I started, my company. And so we've just been focusing on SEO and digital marketing ever since.
Very cool. And tell me a little bit about the agency. I mean, how many folks do you have working with you, and who are some of do you have any kind of key verticals that you kind of concentrate on or anything like that?
Yeah. So we're actually fairly new to Pittsburgh. So I just relocated here a couple years ago from LA.
Very cool.
And so I still have plenty of people out there working for me. We're growing the team here in Pittsburgh.
Great.
In terms of verticals, we don't really specialize in one or the other, but since we're a business based on referrals more than anything else, we kind of have gone down certain lines. We have a lot of attorneys, education, healthcare, and e-commerce obviously is probably the biggest, people who sell things online.
And the thing that I think is probably very fascinating about what you do is like, there isn't one case that's exactly the same, because people have different targets, they have different conditions and different goals. And so your job gets pretty tricky, because you have to kind of learn all that and then figure out how to optimize that and get the lead that they're looking for. And that is no easy task this day and age. I mean, I remember back in the early days of SEO, where it's like, have a title tag on your page. It was all about keyword density at one point, making sure there's a certain number of words that you were trying to rank for. And it just gets more and more complex as the algorithms get more complex and as the web continues to grow. So you've been part of that since day one, which has to be very exciting. So you definitely know the ins and the outs of this.
Yeah, it's one of those things, with every new Google algorithm update is a whole new set of rules you have to follow, so, it used to be that, link building didn't matter. Now it's like link building is the main thing that matters. And, there's people who focus on one keyword makes up their entire business. Other people, that have a catalog of products, they may have 100,000 keywords they're monitoring, and everything in between. So you really have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis and, go from there.
And so how often do these algorithms change? I mean, it seems, I know it's not daily, but it seems like it to me, but it seems like it's quite often.
Yeah, I mean, once a year, usually you'll see like a major
thing that really
update.
The game, how you approach it.
Maybe like every like year or two, probably if you had to average it out over the last 20 years, probably every 18 months, there's been a major update. And usually when those happen is when you see companies scramble. Some are big winners and other big losers.
Exactly.
People who have ranked for the last, year and a half straight will say, "Oh my God, my rankings are just all tanking all of a sudden." Other people will wake up one morning and they're ranking better than they ever have before.
They're like, "Whoa, my keywords must have worked."
Yeah. So we're always kind of dreading what's around the corner when it's update season.
I was going to say, I mean, is there like a warning for this? Is it like, hey, September 21st, we're making an announcement, or just kind of slowly leak out and you start seeing the differences?
Yeah, there's no warning, but it's also not slowly. It's also not slowly. It's when you wake up one morning and you're like, what just happened? Yeah, what just happened here? That's usually how it goes. And, you know, your phone's ringing off the hook of your clients, like, you know.
It makes it hard to plan a vacation then, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's jump into this. So before we were talking about, well, I was like, hey, Jesse, what do you want to talk about today? And you sent me some points. And the points you sent me, I think, are just so cool to talk about, because I bet you many of our listeners and many of our viewers today have not heard about this. So I think this is great for us to kind of chart this a little bit. Yeah. So what is the difference between, you know, on-page SEO and off-page SEO? Like explain both and why they're different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. And you kind of touched on it earlier when you said back in the day, if you just had a title tag that was optimized, you could rank using that, right? But as it's progressed, update after update after update, there's now 300 different aspects of on-page SEO that you have to look at.
300.
So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of things that go into it. So there's really two sides to the SEO coin when it comes to ranking for something competitive, right?
Okay.
I mean, if you're trying to rank for your own brand name, that should be easy and nothing really goes into it. But if you're trying to rank for something that's going to make your company millions of dollars, or there's millions of people competing for that term, it gets very intense. So first part is on-page SEO, which is the things like the title tags, the meta tags, the keyword density, the things you mentioned, right? But it goes farther. You got to optimize the code. You got to optimize the content, image metadata, how fast your site is loading. You know, there's so many things that go into how optimized is the page itself.
Right. So Google strikes against you if your page loads too slowly, right?
Yes, definitely.
I feel like it's not a good experience for the user, so it's not
exactly
high, right?
Exactly. Things like, you know, things like bounce rate factor into SEO. If Google sees that people are bouncing fast, they say this content must not be loading fast enough,
or it's not relevant, right?
Or it's not relevant enough. So even if you have it perfectly optimized, if you have a high bounce rate, you'll lose rankings due to it. So, I mean, we could talk for hours on that, but there's so many different things like that. That's on-page SEO.
Okay.
And so once you have your page completely optimized on page, that's when you Google a term and you see, okay, I'm looking at 1 through 10 of 5.5 million results. You know, that means 5.5 million results are in one way or another optimized for that.
Okay.
Now, who's going to rank number 1 versus number 10 versus number 10,000?
Right.
Has to do with off-page SEO.
Huh.
Which is, think of it as kind of like a voting system. And it all comes down to link building. Have you heard of link building?
Absolutely.
Backlinks?
Right.
Yeah. So that's what it is. Once you have a page optimized, every link that you can get from a third party, an outside source, counts as basically like a vote of confidence.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, in Google. And it increases a very key metric called domain authority. And at the end of the day, the higher your domain authority ranking, the more Google is going to pay attention to your content and want to rank it higher.
Interesting.
So let's say, you know, company A and company B sell the same product. They're equally optimized for that on page. If one of them has 100 sites linking to it and the other site has 1,000 linking to it, they're going to outrank them all day for every term.
Absolutely.
So a big part of what we do is, you know, companies will contact us and say, hey, you know, we're on page 3 or we're on page 10. We want to get to page 1. How do we do that? We thought we were already optimized. You put together a link building campaign and you get people that link to you every single day. You get more and more links built up and you'll slowly rise up the rankings just due to that alone.
So that to me seems like such a difficult task. That's why you got to call pros in for something like that, because literally like, and I know Google's going to sense if you're trying to game it. I know back in the day, there were things you could just build fake links and it would look like things were linked to it, but Google's smart. They'll sniff that stuff out, I bet.
Yeah.
So it requires a really dedicated campaign in order to get those backlinks, right?
Yeah, good point. I mean, because it is nuanced like that. I mean, you can't just get a ton of spammy links from, you know, Facebook overnight and have it work. You really need to build what's called contextual links, where it's like links from content that's related to you.
Okay.
You know, because not all links are created equal. If somebody in a Twitter post links to you, that's good. It's not a bad thing. But if someone from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette writes an article about your industry and links to you,
right,
that's fantastic. That's where Google is going to say, okay, we trust this newspaper. They wrote a good piece of content, and this is the company they chose to link to.
Right.
You're going to fly up in the rankings if you get something like that. So that's what we do is we go out and we find, you know, publications that are already trusted in the industry to place links to the website that we want to increase.
Very cool. Yeah, interesting. So who are these crazy people writing these algorithms at Google? Because it just absolutely blows my mind. Like the way that, I mean, to me, it's like alien technology, I think.
Yeah, they might be on another planet, or at very least they're in a bunker somewhere in Silicon Valley.
Bunker in Mountain View, right?
We don't know who they are.
Interesting. Oh my goodness. Now I understand the difference about this. So on the page you're optimized, but then off the page, it's all about getting those the good credible backlinks that are contextual and that they're related to your type of content, and that is the magic right there, because it gives you that domain authority. I feel like
you have to have both. Okay. Yeah, you have to first step is optimize your site. Right. Once it's optimized and it has all those title tags, meta tags, image metadata, it loads fast. Great. Now it's time to start getting relevant industry links to your site and basically get voted up in Google's system.
Very cool. So let's switch gears here a little bit. This is fun. This is like the tech work we're going to jump into right now. So I love this. So the idea of using SEO as a tool for reputation management, for promoting oneself. So I think that there's like the inverse of each other. So if you want to promote yourself, you want to get it out there. Reputation management, you want to bring the weird stuff back in, right?
Yeah. I mean, reputation management is something that it's definitely become the fastest growing segment of SEO. Traditionally people have always thought of SEO as, okay, I want to promote my company for this keyword or that keyword. But more and more people are just Googling the company name itself to get reviews, or the leadership of the company, right? I mean, if you're a CEO of an organization and you have people who are, deciding whether or not they want to work with you, not only are they going to look up your company name and look for reviews, but they're going to look up, the CEO, the CFO, make sure, who am I really working with here?
Yeah.
And that is just growing in popularity so fast that people want to make sure not only reputation management for the company, do we have good reviews? Is the news positive? Is the negative stuff, if there is any, pushed down? But the executives themselves, if the CEO has a great interview out there on Bloomberg or something, they want to make sure that's the first thing that shows up. If the CEO, had, a DUI back in 1992, they want to make sure that stuff does not show up, right? And everything in between. You want to promote the good stuff, and you want to de-escalate anything potentially negative.
How do you de-escalate something that's ranking? Is there, you post more stuff to push it back further into the
exactly? Yeah, that's exactly what you do. Because you can't really get rid of something once it's on the internet. People try. They spend a lot of money trying. A lot of PR firms out there, try to get stuff removed. But I mean,
like, I'm calling Google right now. Could you please remove this search result?
You'd be surprised how much money people spend on takedown requests, and attorneys sending things out to remove this content. It never works, ever. So what you got to do is you got to get good things written and promote that. So if we have someone that has a negative piece of news, for someone, what we do is we'll write 10 positive news pieces, publish those, just like kind of the link building thing, right? Where we get people to publish articles and link back. We'll get optimized articles published, and then we'll link build to those articals, and they'll outrank the bad content and push it pages deep to where no one will ever see it.
And we all know we never go past page 2, really.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. So if you get that to page 5 or page 10, then you've pretty much done your job. You're like, there.
Yeah. You get 10 positive articles written about someone, and you put some links to them, and it pushes the negative content out of the way.
And that's going to take time too. That's not something that you can do in the course of a week either. I mean,
no,
that takes 6 months, right?
I mean, anything SEO related isn't overnight, but it doesn't necessarily take 6 months either. It depends on how competitive it is, right? So if you're trying to rank, for the word, athletic footwear or something, and you're competing with Nike, Reebok, Adidas, good luck. It's going to take a year for even the biggest companies to do that. But most terms, maybe 60 days to 90 days.
Okay, interesting.
You can make some progress, if you really know what you're doing. The good thing about going back to reputation management is no one's competing for that.
Though I was gonna say, yeah, that makes total sense. And often those types of people, you're a CEO and you think you're pretty important, but there's lots of CEOs out there, right? And most of the mid-level companies that most people are thinking of. And so the idea that that's not being searched for a lot to begin with. So then I can see where, in 60 days, by putting 10 stories out, you're easily going to quash back anything that would come up first, because that is the one out there.
And it comes down to like how much money are people spending on this stuff. If you're trying to rank for something like, Pittsburgh law firms, every law firm in Pittsburgh is pouring money into this stuff, trying to outrank each other. So it's going to be, a little longer term, a little tougher. But no one's out there competing for your personal name.
Right.
So, if you have a good strategy and you're putting the content out there, just a couple links here and there, you'll get accomplished what you want.
You'll start putting it out. Wow, that is fascinating. This is why I love doing these. And I get to learn something new.
It's fun to talk about.
It's all good stuff. That's why we're doing our summer of 50 PGH tech stories with Comcast, is to get this information out there and to show there's you moved from LA to Pittsburgh to do your company, which I think is fantastic. We're glad you're in Pittsburgh doing
I'm happy to be here. I love Pittsburgh. Everybody here has been very welcoming of us, and it's going well.
What's your favorite thing about Pittsburgh so far?
Definitely not the driving. I can tell you that. the streets here take a little bit of getting used to, but no, I just like the community. I mean, I got involved with the Pittsburgh Tech Council, pretty early on. It was the first group that I joined here. Very cool. And just going to the networking events and things like that, the industry related events, it was very refreshing, to see how welcoming people were here. So
very good. I'm glad you're making Pittsburgh your home, because we need women and men like you setting up shop Pittsburgh, doing what you're doing to make Pittsburgh pretty kick butt. Now, our question of the day, we always ask this on all of our 50 Stories podcast and video cast here, is, as you all know, we are trying to raise some money for the beyondthelaptops.org project through Neighborhood Allies. So I'm asking everybody, what are your thoughts on ways that we can bridge the digital divide, not just in Pittsburgh, but like everywhere? What are your thoughts on that, Jesse?
Yeah. Well, I did hear about this. I know you guys have already raised a lot of money for this. And one thing that comes to mind for me is companies who have upgraded their machinery, or they upgrade often. A lot of times their old laptops or their old machines or tablets or whatever, go to waste, or, they're up for grabs at the very least. So, to have companies that when they upgrade their equipment, turn to, organizations that can put them in the hands of schools or people that just have the need for, connectivity and modern devices. I think that's something that a lot of companies could look at doing more of.
Absolutely. Good answer. Appreciate that a bunch. And I can't appreciate enough you taking the time to talk to us. I feel like I've learned something here, and
I'm happy to be here.
What's going on. But at the end of the day, I always say, man, I'm glad there's pros like you out there, because I really encourage everybody. I know people can get savvy and they can get pretty good with getting some SEO traction. But I feel like when you're a business and you're really trying to compete and rank and do the right thing, you got to work with pros on this. I mean, this has become your business at the end of the day, because it's all dependent on this. And I would say, don't put that into professionals' hands, is what I always like saying. So it's kind of like taking your car to a mechanic. Sure, you could do some of this yourself, but
it's a tough thing to keep up on. That's for sure. I mean, it's a full-time job just keeping up on the algorithms.
Jesse Witham from Search Marketing Agency, thank you for hanging out with us today. You've been a great guest here on the Comcast Summer of 50 Pittsburgh Tech Stories. Man, you're the best.
All right. Thanks for having me.